Welcome to a new week of your favorite award-winning, women's-led current affairs talk show right here on News Central. I'm definitely not excited that the weekend is over. I remember the joke that weekends don't last because they're made in China. You guys, connection? Wow, I would not have a career as a comedian. But we have things to do, and I can already promise you that this week will deliver on topics to unravel, important conversations to have, and much more. But before that, ladies, how was your weekend?
Watch Lolo go. From me. My weekend was so boring.
What is it?
I laid in bed all weekend.
But weren't you the one who's been saying you wanted a weekend off?
I know it's a problem. Maybe I need to see a therapist.
Yes.
Because as I laid at home, Tolu, it felt like, do you know, I had woken up so early. I was dressed, ready to leave for work.
FOMO, she has FOMO, fear of missing out. You felt like something was happening and you it's FOMO.
Maybe all those other weddings they didn't invite me to.
Lolo, what is it with you and weddings? I usually run away from weddings, but I notice that you always want to.
Right, the mala is always nice, and the small chops.
She will go for the wedding, then come back. I'm so tired. I don't know who said that. Who was out?
Catherine, do you know what your is?
Yeah. You know, I almost went for a comedy show yesterday, but I just told myself, no.
You did?
No.
And now you're here complaining.
I don't know what was the problem. I just felt as if I was lying down all weekend.
So did you watch movies? Did you?
Of course, I watched so many movies that I loved and I enjoyed. But on Saturday, I drove out in the evening. I went to buy duvet. You will not see the disgrace that happened to me. They have not even finished the disgrace. Because I sent money by transfer. They didn't see it. But it was gone from my
account.
Do you have GT Bank?
No, it's been.
And we cannot see transaction
reference and everything.
No.
Was it
what's happening? So what's happening? It started with one of the major banks before. Is they're all migrating from one platform to another. This is based on some CBN conversations. It's approved by the CBN. But I think they're not handling it well in terms of giving people information and resolution. So it has gone. It did meet last week.
No,
I'm waiting 3 reversals.
In fact, after the show, I'm going to call my account officer.
They'll tell you to wait. That the money reverse.
But I couldn't live with the duvet. The girl was giving me the look. Like all those fake alert aunties.
So you left the duvet?
I had to leave the duvet, left my number, so that in case I said on Monday, if it doesn't work, I would go to my bank or something.
This is why I have 5 bank accounts. Even if it's 50K, I will spread it across all 5.
But I understand. I do that.
I get it.
That's what,
I have 3 banks.
Not come and disgrace you.
But I have 2. I have one of those online banks.
So, Blessings, how was your weekend?
It was good. Well, I didn't rest, but it was quite insightful because I attended a conference about speaking, and I really, really learned a lot. And then Sunday was filled with work, but I enjoyed it.
Because you're getting paid, why won't you enjoy it?
Why won't you enjoy it?
Why won't you enjoy it? What's the meaning of that, Catherine?
I'm sorry, this client insisted they wanted to pay before. I'm like, no way. Because you feel like you're doing free work.
I hate this kind of job.
Don't pay.
It's so true. I had an 80th birthday. Thank God when the event planner now called, they say, what? Say, which date? I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
You spent the money already?
She hasn't forgotten.
They paid me the money like April. What I now don't remember is if I got the full amount or I was paid part.
Better go and look. Kat, how was your weekend?
No, I don't play like that.
Is it?
I don't.
Money that I work for?
Trust me, I don't play like that. I am very
organized.
Accountable.
Business and pleasure.
It's because I had no P.
Business and friendships are 2 different things.
Water and oil.
But some people like to be paid in advance. I realize that in the Nigerian climb, you pay someone 3 months before you want the work to be done.
Captain's mic is
so I would actually prefer that there's a part payment, but not the chunk of it, because sometimes you don't want to take that risk. There was an event they paid for, and then they didn't even pay for. They had booked me for, and then I used my money, splurged a lot. I splurged, and then eventually they're like, we're postponing it. That was 3 years ago. We've still not done the event.
Wow. My sister.
So we're gonna take a quick break to sort some things. When we come back, we'll also look at what our focus is for today and look at what happened at the Lekki toll gate yesterday. Do stay with us.
Welcome back to Jasiri, your favorite show, and we're about to focus on our focus today. Now, on this table, we're not afraid to hold deep conversations, as you know, on the state of Nigeria and its citizens, and even take our discussions wider. So if you haven't been watching us, I really don't know what you've been doing with your time at this point. And if you're not following us, this is the time. We are at News Central TV across all platforms. Just search for us, and trust me, you'll be glad you did.
All right, so on Friday, as we started the show, we looked at the 4-year anniversary of the deaths of NSAS protesters at the Lekki toll gates in Lagos. Sunday was the actual day, and as expected, people gathered there yesterday in memory of those who lost their lives at the toll gates and in the course of the NSAS protest. Now, News Central's Bettina was on ground that uncovered all that happened. Also present were heavily kitted police operatives. Now, shortly after people assembled there, the Nigerian police requested that they leave the location. Bettina was also asked to leave, but she was doing her job as a reporter, so she stayed. And of course, so did those gathered there. Let's take a look at what happened.
4 years ago, thousands of Nigerians gathered at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos to demand justice against police brutality in the country. 4 years after, with an attempt at a solemn remembrance, banners and placards were seized and protesters apprehended and whisked away in a Black Maria.
Against unjustice. Police,
group of protesters
fighting for you. Your fans are going to oppress you. Who are you going to come?
on the NSAS Lekki toll gate massacre. Apprehended by a group of policemen under the leadership of the Commissioner of Police in Lagos. I'm right now speaking to you.
Look at me.
From a Black Maria.
I am beaten and my phones are seizing.
Brutalized. My glasses.
I will be robbed.
The phones have been
taken by the police.
It was struck away from the hands by a police officer without any provocation. We're asking here today, when the right to commemorate the dead has become illegal criminalized in this country.
Concerned citizens, over 20 in number, united to honor the memories of the deceased, but instead were faced with heavy resistance from the police. The Commissioner of Police, though present, did not address the press and instructed that his team shouldn't address the press either.
I just got arrested now by the area commander of Island. So I'm going to meet the large minds of people inside the Black Maria. Solidarity forever. My struggle, freedom come.
Today's event serves as a poignant reminder of the ongoing struggle for justice, freedom, and above all, the enduring spirit of the NSAS movement in Nigeria. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Nwili.
Oh, I see that those images are a bit difficult to take. Anyway, those that gathered at the Lekki toll gate were tear-gassed by the police, and eventually about 22 people were arrested, as you saw in that report that you saw. It's so hard for me to take. But anyway, yesterday evening, SP Hundeyi, who has been on Jasiri before, that took to his X account to disclose that all those who are in their custody were all released by the Commissioner of Police. He was also on ground to ensure that every single person who was taken into custody were released. If you know, previously, Hundeyi has been on our show on Jasiri.
Yes.
And of course, you know, Soweto Hassan too has been on our show. But this morning on Breakfast Central, Hassan Soweto was their guest. So you need to really catch that interview on social media, because I know it will give you the in-depth, you know, every story that you need to know about what happened on Sunday.
So you knew that people were going to gather. You know it is their right to protest. That thing about informing the police, the Supreme Court has thrown out. There was a way to handle this. Let them protest. It's not even a protest. It was a memorial march. Yeah, I even need to take away the fact. It wasn't even a protest. It was a memorial march. Let them do their memorial march. Provide security. If hoodlums that you're always shouting about come, stop the hoodlums, let it go on, and people go back to their homes. what was this show that we did? You're tear gassing people, you arrest people, and then you say in your magnanimity, you eventually release them.
Everybody.
I don't know. It's just that we don't understand how to handle certain things. This was unnecessary.
You just took it out of my mouth. We don't know how to handle situations. We go from 0 to 100. It's a memorial march. It's a remembrance. There's no Nigerian here or a year outside the country who does not remember NSAS. There's none. Now, they come for a memorial march. Why don't you just observe what is the trigger-happy spree everyone is going? It's like a jamboree. You're just waiting for, oh, we are there before they do anything, we are there. And like I said before, we are not ready, because if we keep using the same formula, and we have seen that the formula doesn't work for us, hasn't worked for us, and if you permutate, will not work for us, we have to change a strategy. If we are not ready to do that as a people, change strategy and work together, then we are not ready.
I don't think that,
there's one thing that could have solved this, just one thing. I wouldn't say it's just one thing.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, it's not, you tap a child's hand, don't do that, the child will look at you and do it again. Don't do that, the child will look at you. Until you use the sledgehammer, then the child will sit up. There's a video we all saw on it's a content on social media. When you use your soft parenting voice, the child just looks at you and continues. When you put it to gear 4,
gentle parenting.
Oh, God. The child runs away, surrender to do what it is that you said the child should do.
I don't think law enforcement can surprise me anymore. The agencies, whatever it is that they're called. I remember when End Bad Governance was to start. One of our correspondents, Bernard, was at the toll gate. And he was there because that was where they were supposed to converge. So a lot of people would have been scared, and then they'll be trying to follow another route because they didn't know what the situation was. So it was more like a situation update, right? And then the law enforcement officers there went to him and they were like, first of all, you're trying to incite people to come here to protest. And it's like, what I'm telling them is that nothing is happening here. So if you want to go through this route and you're scared, feel free. And then they're like, no, this is not what we're asking. This is not what we sent you to broadcast. I'm like, sorry? When I saw that clip, I got so furious. Like, do you think that the media works for you? So I'm not even surprised that whatever it is that they do anymore, because...
you know, the thing I look at is that, is it that the government no longer follow the rules? Because we have a constitution and there is a right for people to gather peacefully. They have a right to speak their mind. It's as if this one is more than a gag. And this is like an affront to the Nigerian people, because it did happen.
And people died.
People died there. It's not and it's a painful thing that they cannot even commemorate the death or the massacre and the evil happening that happened at that toll gate. And now people gather again, and you are infringing on their rights, and you're putting them in the Black Maria. Is it not that you're saying that we don't have any right to peaceful gathering? So then let us know that the government is against its own people. Because I'm wondering that why is it that every time people gather to do something peaceful, which is their fundamental human right, they come after them with all their might? If we had this kind of military might,
governments.
If we had this kind of military might, why did Boko Haram harass us that much?
Or is still
why are terrorists, bandits, and all sorts of names that we call them, kidnappers, why are they so rife in the country?
Yeah, well,
if we had that kind of military might. But when you see peaceful Nigerians or people trying to exercise their fundamental human right, you see the full force of power. I'm like, so they have all these equipment. So we have water cannons. So we have tear gas. So why are they not using it when it's appropriate?
Ladies, we'll enter gear 2 on this, and it's one conversation that will not end today, but we have our guest standing by. Blessings, we need to get into the next conversation.
All right, it's time to go for a short break, but when Jasiri continues, we'll look at the seemingly never-ending back and forth between the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, and the federal government. Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, who will be our guest, the ASUU president, will join us shortly after the break, so stick around.
In life, they say 2 things are sure: death and taxes. But when you focus specifically on Nigeria, we seem to have added to that list. We've added things like fuel scarcity, electricity price hike, and ASUU strike. Now, the ongoing dispute between the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, and the federal government has often brought Nigeria's public universities to a standstill, affecting millions of students. This crisis isn't new. It's been brewing since 2009, with unresolved issues surrounding salaries, university funding, and unimplemented agreements. At the heart of the dispute lies the 2009 agreement an MOU between ASUU and the federal government, which aims to provide better working conditions, improved infrastructure, and adequate funding for higher learning institutions.
ASUU claims that the government has consistently failed to meet its obligations, prompting strikes. The federal government, however, insists that it has made efforts to address concerns, but limited resources are a major constraint. Recently, ASUU gave the government a 14-day ultimatum to clear the remaining 4-month salary arrears owed their members during the 2020 nationwide strike. ASUU has a long history of engagement with the government on various issues ranging from funding to academic autonomy, and their actions have had a profound impact on the future of higher education in the country. Today, we will delve into the core concerns of ASUU, the challenges it faces in its negotiations with the government, and the broader implications of these issues on Nigeria's educational system. Joining us now is the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke. Professor Osodeke, you're welcome to Jasiri. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, so Professor Osodeke, news of another potential ASUU strike has millions of students and their families frustrated and stressed. Let's start with the core issues that are at the forefront of this potential strike.
Thank you very much for this. Well, the issues are well known to Nigeria. In 2009, we had an agreement with government on the number of issues, funding, welfare of staff, the law about the governing universities, amongst others. And that agreement, there was a clause that said that agreement will be renegotiated every 3 years, which means it was due for renegotiation in 2012. But we were patient, they refused to come until 2017, where they agreed to come and negotiate with us and put Professor Babalaki as, Dr. Babalaki as the chairman of the committee. We spent more than 3 years without moving forward because they were not really interested in renegotiation. And then that negotiation failed. We had to go on strike again for the government to set up another committee made up chaired by Professor Musalu Jibril, which within 6 months we completed renegotiation on both sides, waiting for government to give permission for them to sign, and we signed. But I can assure you they didn't come back to us again until we had to go on that strike in 2020 before they now set up the panel again, another panel again, this time headed by Professor Nimi Briggs of late memory, and we also reached an agreement on both sides, hoping that they will come back and will sign. Until today, that agreement was not signed. So that is the origin. Then the other issues. So that's the major issue on this hour, on which we have been giving notice for strike. We have issue of our pay on paid salaries of 4 months. Haven't done the job. It's no work, no pay. We've done the job. Every university today is at the 2013-2014 academic year. So my level is 2014-2015 now. So we have done all the job. Our university job it's not based on time or month. It's based on work done. Haven't done the work. We're expected them to pay the balance 4 months. We have issue of academic allowances, which allowance paid because we have been overworked. Yeah. The ratio of academic to student is about 1 to 9, between 1 to 9 and 1 to 15. But in Nigerian university, in most of the university, the ratio is between 1 to 50, 1 to 40, which we were doing excess work, for which we have excess workload. We are being owed more than 6 months. 6 years. Then we have issue of a revitalization fund, which we also agreed on with the Goodluck government in 2013, that it should release 1.3 trillion naira into Nigerian university system. They only released 200 billion and 50 billion.
Okay, Prof, apologies, but I just want to ask. I mean, I'm seeing that you're mentioning some of the data from, especially, you know, as long as 2020. You mentioned 2020 and the fact that nothing was done. It was just a committee that was set up, and I'm wondering if there's anything that has been very constant in the academic calendar of the Nigerian universities is the ASUU strike. We've seen so many strikes in the space of between 1999 and now. We've seen about 20 strikes, and one would think that these strikes are yielding positive results, but from what you're saying, nothing has been done so far. So once we're with the confidence that, you know, ASUU keeps going on strike, you would think that it will bring positive results. Why does this strike keep happening if nothing has been achieved?
You see, nothing tangible for us. But let me tell you one. Try and go around Nigeria and look at the public primary and secondary schools. Do you still have any? How many people put Nigeria in those schools?
Yeah.
Have you just go around and check? Public primary and secondary school. How many governors are talking about establishing new primary and secondary schools? So that is it. If not for our struggle, the university will be exactly what you have in primary and secondary school today. So physically on us, nothing is there. But if not our struggle, they would have destroyed it. But they're also planning to so now. I can assure you, there is a new law, a new bill proposed by the executive, taken to the legislature to ban TET fund that we fought for in the 90s.
Yes.
That when you go around university in Nigeria today, the major structure you have, the major thing, the training of size is by TET fund. When you look at that bill, they say by 2030, TET fund should cease to exist. Go and check. So if we don't struggle now, that TET, once it ceases to exist, will be like public primary and secondary schools. And the public sector, where this set of people belong, the private sector where they belong will take over. And that is why we are struggling. The struggle is not for us alone, for Nigerian people. If not for our struggle, you will not have TET fund. Any university today, all the 90% of their projects are TET fund. The state and federal have no more funding capital project. So that is the product of our TET fund. Need assessment it is. If they have implemented what we said, our university will be competitive all over the world. You see, me, I feel so strange that Nigerian people talking about strike and this thing. How many foreign lecturers do you have in Nigerian university? How many foreign students do you have? So that is why we will keep on struggling. That we should not be talking about quantity, which is what Nigeria talks about, and not quality. Our idea is that when we are training students, it should be students who come out, quality students, good laboratories, good library, good lecture theaters, where students can have good lectures. That is our struggle, and we'll continue, whether Nigeria like it or not. Any day we let down this struggle, I can assure you.
Okay, Professor Osodeke, I want to ask something. I know we have a
children
question.
of the poor and the middle class. Thank God, 90% of us, me and you are middle class now, lower class, all of us, you and I, we're all lower class now. Any day we stop struggling, your children cannot go to universities where they pay 13 million, 12 million as school fees.
Okay, Professor Osodeke, my question is, you mentioned, of course, the TET Foundation. We'll get into funding right after this. But we've seen a move where government is approving private tertiary institutions. I'd really like to get your viewpoint as president of ASUU, even a bill that was meant to establish what is going to be a federal public university about languages named after the president. But in terms of the fact that we see this continuous approval of private universities, private tertiary institutions up to earlier this year, yet ASUU continues to have these issues. What are your thoughts on that? I think it'd be interesting to see where ASUU stands.
Well, as a union, we believe in quantity and not quality and not quantity. But this set of government believe in quality and not quantity.
Quantity and not quality.
I think there should be investigating journalism. ASUU believe in quality, but the government believe in quantity. That's why they established new universities, which they are not funding. Take a look. Go around some of these private universities. Go around some of these public universities are just establishing. But anywhere in the world, are they qualified to be called universities? The answer is no. But we are in a country where we believe in quantity, not quality. And we as a union, we fight for quality. And we continue to fight for quality. And that's why many not go to University of Ibadan, what have you? They won't be churning out 300, 400, 500 first class in a year, as you are now seeing the private universities. A university with 1,000 students, 1,400 students, 330 something will have a first class. Where would that happen in the world? First class is extreme excellence, not just excellence. You don't have a university with 500 students, 200 is giving first class. That is where we have found ourselves as a country.
Wow.
We are paying dearly for it, you don't know. There is no week a building don't collapse in Nigeria. It was not so in the 70s, 80s. There is no day week a building don't collapse. Because you are churning out graduates who don't have the background, the practical, they are now heading those ministries. And you can see the impact on the system. Drive to our road, they do it, they construct it this year, by next year it's gone. Because we don't have quality post passing the road. We are already paying. And it is time we should say enough is enough. Let's believe in quality and not quantity as the government is going. You have a state with one university, you cannot fund it, you establish 4 more. They are now established University of Language and naming it after the president by people who are referred to as just, what do you call them? People who are just paying lip service. Who is going to fund that? What?
Yeah. Well,
the University of Nigeria have a department of faculty of Nigerian languages. How University of Nigeria have University of Nigerian languages? Why establish a university for languages? University for transportation. You see, we have become a laughing stock in the world. And that's where we are. Even in West Africa, we are laughing stock. That's why our students go to Benin to purchase degree and come back.
Professor, we will be taking a short break now, but when we return, we'll be talking issues that concern funding, because that's very fundamental to this particular discourse that we're having. But we'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing issues that concern ASUU and the impending strike that is being planned. And we have Professor Osodeke with us, who is the ASUU president, and we have been discussing, everything around this particular issue. If you're just joining us, please do follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at News Central TV everywhere. Before the break, we were about to ask a question that is so fundamental. In fact, that is at the foundation of everything, funding. It has always been an issue. What is the current status of the funding for revitalization of public universities? Because that is so crucial. That is what the fight has been for. How much funding does ASUU actually think they need or they require to address all the infrastructural decay and resource deficiencies that we have in the country?
Thank you very much. In 2012, when we were on strike, one of the issues that came out was the issue of funding. And we told the government that you need about 1.5 trillion naira to bring our university up to date. But government did not believe us. And that government has set up a committee known as Need Assessment Committee to go around all Nigerian universities and look at what is there and what can be done. That committee went around and came out with an assessment report that resulted in this revitalization fund. That report was so sad that even when the president presented at Federal Executive Council, everybody was shocked at the rate of Nigerian universities. That in one of the first generation universities, that they were using stove as Bunsen burner. In many laboratories, students were taking lectures, sitting on bare floor or hanging on windows, and so forth and so on. And based on that, we all agreed with the then president. We had a meeting with him, President Goodluck Jonathan, and agreed that federal government should release 1.3 trillion to upgrade all these facilities. And because they cannot read that money in one full sweep, what they agreed was that every year they will release 200 billion naira to the Nigerian university. The first one was released. Go around Nigerian university today, you will see the impact of that 200 billion naira. And that was the last. After a lot of strike during the era of Mohamed Buhari, they released 50 billion. And that is the last they have released. Wow. And that's what we keep on saying. Release this money, upgrade our facilities so that we can have foreign students coming in and paying us $1 and pounds. And we can have foreign lecturers coming to teach Nigerian university. That is the origin. Till now, they have done little or nothing on that. We also compound issue. We took a survey of countries in West Africa. And we found out that this country gives 15% of its budget to education. 50%. But Nigeria, in the past 10 years, we have not given more than 9% to education. And what we have told this government, upgrade it to what has been required by UNESCO to at least 15%. And they have not. And you keep on establishing universities. So the issue of funding is very important. Let me explain to you as we speak so. The University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, what they give them on yearly basis as overhead cost is 150 million naira, 150. If you divide that by 12, it comes to less than about 10 or 11 million naira. This first generation get for overhead cost to run that university in a year. And you can imagine what happened with other lower generation. But in a country, a senator told us 2 days ago that what he earned is 14 million a month. So what that senator earned in a month is higher than what they give to University of Lagos to run that university in a year. And you can check the figure. They are correct, the budget. So that is why Nigeria, we don't care about education. You can pay one senator 14 million. Senator even said that 14 million is not enough for him. But you give a whole university with more than 100,000 people, students and staff, you give 150 million in a year. That's about 11 million in a month to run. Less than that of a senator, one senator. That's our priority. And that's the reason we are fighting and we are struggling that this system had to change.
Okay, Prof, before we went on break, we were talking about the issue of unpaid earned allowances, and you spoke extensively on that. But I really want to know what ASUU's suggestion is as to how to solve that issue. What is ASUU proposing?
What we are proposing is that the staff to student ratio in Nigerian university, academic staff to student ratio, is 1:9 in the medical, 1:10 in the science, and 1:15 in the arts. That should be the ratio. But because our lecturers are living Jackpot syndrome, they are living, and we are not replacing them. We now have, in some university, the ratio is 1:50, 1:30, 1:40. I would say, okay, for us to do extra job, not going on leave, for doing extra job, let's agree that you should pay extra money for extra work done. It's calculated. That's the origin of earned academic allowance. And we agree with the government that any day you can make this ratio of 1:9 to 1:15, then stop payment. Today it has even degenerated. Because the good brain, many of the good brain are living. If not for people who are very dedicated to this country, many of us would have left this country. Because you can't be paying a professor $300 a month when the man can go outside and get $5,000 a month, which is what you have. Go and check. What the professor earns about $300 a month. But when we signed this agreement, a professor will earn about $250 a month in Nigeria. The Naira has depreciated, you can see the impact. Meanwhile, this money is just for salary. If you want to publish your journal, publish a journal abroad, you have to pay for publication $1 from this mega salary. Within your research, buying of your books, subscription to the international conferences come from this money. Our government is not willing to change that. So that is the origin of this strike.
Okay. So, Professor Osodeke, there's another very contentious issue that has been something between you and the federal government, and that's been the issue of the Integrated Personnel and Payroll System, IPPS. Now, ASUU wants the government to remove its members from the IPPS and migrate them to the University Transparency and Accountability System. But IPPS is what the government uses, and many Nigerians have weighed in on this, and they wonder why ASUU wants to be exempt from this system. So take us through very quickly, because of time, the issues ASUU has with the IPPS and why the UTAS is the option that ASUU wants to go with.
Thank you. IPPS, even they have agreed that it's not working. As I speak, so many of our colleagues, their leave allowance, their promotion allowance, their what do you call it, contributions to whatever, are being CO'd by IPPIS. As I speak to you, and I'm saying in the public, the federal government should investigate. A large number of Nigerians who have left this country, who have not found work here, are being paid by IPPIS. The money is being taken by those people. You can check. They have agreed. The head of service have agreed that they are paid. That's what we said. It does not capture the university system. They were just dashed to them, say, go and do. And when we were on strike, they were challenged to produce alternative. It didn't come from us. The government challenged us, say, produce alternative that is better, which we produced. I was subject to a test by NIDA. I scored 97.3%. That was what their score is, a government establishment. But they say it doesn't work. I would not ask them, when IPPIs were introduced for this country, was it tested? The answer was no, it was not tested. So we agreed they should test the three: IPPIS, UTAS, and that by the non-academic staff. And when they finished, IPPIS came a distant last, and we see still using it when it does not capture all of us, all our issues. So that is the origin, and it can be proven. Go and check. We are in a country where former Accountant General, that particular the ministry, was alleged to have stolen 12.something billion. Where did that money come from? Did anything happen to him?
You know, some of the...
We are aware.
You know, Professor, some of the other concerns that on this issue of IPPIS and, of course, UTAS is this issue of corruption and inefficiency with the university's finances. Some believe that some lecturers are getting paid twice on some of these platforms. What do you want to speak on that? Why do you think the UTAS would address the issues more than the IPPIS that the government initially proposed?
Thank you. You see, a lecturer earning salary from one or two places is not illegal, it's not corruption. You can investigate. Go and check the laws of the university. You see, when you are talking, look at the laws. The laws of every university create room for sabbatical. After I've served 6 years in my university, I'm both a senior lecturer, I go to other university or other area where I can get knowledge, acquire knowledge, and come back and teach. Is there in the law, sabbatical? The issue of adjunct lecturer is there in every university law. Adjunct lecturer means you have somebody in medical or computer science who is very important, and the university, the person who is doing the same thing dies or has left the country, you can come and hire it on part-time basis. You come 1 or 2 times, 3 times in a month as you expect to teach, and he's paid some stipend, not salary. So when they want to try not make it as corruption, you can check the law. It's very clear. The law also very clear. The law is very clear that it is the council of the university that will manage the finances of the university. The vice chancellor go to National Assembly, defend their budget, and that budget is that defense, if accepted, go to the president for signing. Once the president signs, it becomes a law. And that law, by the law, is the council that should manage that fund. The next year, when they go back to the National Assembly, they will account for it again. Not the Office of Accountant General. There is nothing about the Office of Accountant General in Nigerian law. So what they are doing with Accountant General Office and IPPIs is illegal. And you can check the law, except we are a country that is lawless, we don't obey the law.
All right, so thank you so much, Professor. So far, so good. We are getting more and more clarity on the issues that are unspoken about between ASUU and the federal government. But still, one of the big issues I've always had when it comes to ASUU and the federal government is the negotiation aspect. Oftentimes, it seems that government agrees to these agreements or MOUs simply to end strikes and get ASUU off its back. So by then, we're getting to this cycle where government says it has issues upholding its end of the bargain. Now, my question is, do you think that the federal government is negotiating with you in good faith? And how does ASUU plan to ensure that the federal government honors its commitment in the renegotiated agreement?
Thank you very much. This government came in about 18 months ago. Hope I'm right.
Yeah.
If they came in 18 months ago and we didn't go on strike and be appealing to them, pleading, writing, begging them to come and negotiate, and they refuse to come, the question is what next to do? We should go and lie down. So when you talk about strike, a strike is a symptom of a problem.
Yes.
This government came in believing, because they intervened in the calling out of the last strike during the last regime, the president and the now chief of staff actually had negotiation with us, for which we call out that strike. And now they are back, 18 months, almost 2 years, remaining 2 years to go. And they have continued to come to negotiate and implement what has been there. So as a union of intellectuals, as a Nigerians, have we not been patient enough? The question, have we not, what, you see, they keep on holding us responsible. You push out to a war, we also do our own part, and then you punish us. For you, pushing out to the world, nobody punishes you because you have the power. I think that's where we are. And let me also say this. Why we are doing it because Nigerian people, if we allow this to continue, and many of our children, as they are happening now, drop out of the school, there will be a big pool of people for bandits and what have you to harvest. So we must ensure we fund our education so that all our children who are qualified to go to university, to polytechnic, to college education have the opportunity to go, and not the children of the poor going outside to go and acquire a degree. When you check newspaper, you see these men, senators, what have you, governor, standing with their children graduating in UK, graduating in Canada. How many of them have you seen standing with their children graduating in Nigerian universities? Which means they don't believe in their system.
Professor,
and when you don't believe in your system, you cannot run that system adequately.
Yeah. Professor, there are two things that I want to call your attention to and get your opinion on. There was a ruling from the National Industrial Court on this that affected ASUU's stance on this strike. That is one. And I know that recently the government did sign into law this student loan scheme that they want to sign, to implement. This has been working very adequately in more advanced climes than ours. Do you think this would help the educational system in any way when students can actually fund their education by themselves through these loans that will be provided for them to be able to afford their tertiary education? So these two things, what do you say on that?
Well, let me start with that where is working in the foreign countries that are doing well, which is not correct. The American president, excuse me, the American president, Joe Biden, is paying back those loans for those students because the hardship that loan has placed on them is there. He's leaving in a few months' time. I said he's going to pay back a huge lot of that who are being owed because they care for their people. What I feel in America, what do you call it? when the job, unemployment rate is about 3%, you want to work in Nigeria when unemployment is about 40%. How would the children get money to pay back this loan? That's the question you ask us. So what will happen if they cannot pay back the loan? You can imagine what will happen. Now, let's come back to it. We don't believe the student loan scheme. If this country, the leadership of this country can give 9 billion naira to a group of people to go for religion purpose as subsidy, multiply 9 by 2, the 2 major religions you have, that is 18 billion to people to go on subsidy for religion, personal religion purpose. I say you cannot give the same amount of people to students, young boys and girls as subsidy. How do you justify that as a country? That's a question we need to ask. Our idea that this money you are giving to the students of the poor should be given to them as subsidy, like they did for us in our category, including them, those the government now. Yeah. We were calling it bursary in those days. School fees was free, but we still pay us bursary every month. And we can, if we can give 9 billion for religious purpose, we can also give similar money to students to go to school. So we don't need it. Our employment is right. The parent audition are low. They will not be able to pay. And from our experiments, some countries where they did this thing, many of these students committed suicide due to depression. And we don't want all to get to that level. And that's why we said, give this to the children as subsidy and not as loan.
So she asked about the National Industrial Court's ruling that had to do with unpaid salaries during the strike. How has ASUU perceived that ruling in particular, and how can it affect potential strikes going forward?
When you look at that ruling, you know, people pick a small part and try to interpret it. The ruling included a section that said, but if the employer and employee agree, if the employer and employee agree, there is the issue of no work, no pay does not apply. It's there. So, and that it's based on that the president gave 4 months paid. If you say you are doing whatever they call it, program of mercy or whatever, why do it have to have peace in the system? So that's what we are saying. What we are looking at judgment, look at it holistically, not a session. That if the employer and employee agree, no work, no pay does not apply. It's there in the ruling.
All right, so I think this would be a final question to you, sir. So ASUU has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the government. This happened on the 25th of September, 2024. ASUU seeks the conclusion of the renegotiation of the 2009 Federal Government of Nigeria and ASUU agreement based on the Nimi-Briggs Committee's draft agreement of 2021, as well as the release of withheld salaries due to the 2022 strike action. The 14 days have obviously elapsed. So what's the state of the negotiations as we speak? Has the potential strike been perhaps called off?
Thank you very much. As a union that believe in does not believe that strike must body the whole thing, we get those notice. Our government set up a team to negotiate with us. I haven't done that. Based on that, my members have voted across the country we should go on strike. You are all aware. Our members all over the country voted we should go on strike. We'll say, well, let's give this committee a few weeks and see the way they are going. So that's where we are. If at the end of these few weeks we are giving them and nothing happened, then we now go ahead and implement what our members have decided by voting across the whole country. That's what we have done. We'll give them a few weeks because we are meeting within the week. We'll see what will happen. If they come and look serious, we'll tell our members. But if it's not in the same way of just buying time or what have you, then we'll tell our members. That's where we are.
So, Professor Osodeke, before we go, do you think you still have the support of Nigerians when it comes to strikes? Because when people cumulatively put together the length of ASUU strikes over the years, some are saying it's upwards of 5 years. Yeah. We've seen people who have spent maybe double the time they should for a course. Yeah. They've spent an extra year, they spent 2 extra years, and there's just a lot of frustration, not just with the federal government, but also with ASUU. The 2009 agreement continues to be a very contentious one. Now people are here again at the potential of strike. You talk about jackpot for your members, but there are a number of Nigerians who have jackpot because of the educational system. They do not want to stay and be stuck when another strike comes and their educational careers are truncated or cut short. Do you think you still have the support of the majority of Nigerians when it comes to taking on government in relation to the things that ASUU has been demanding?
Well, if you doubt that we don't have their support, call us for a program. And let's do calling. Let them calling for that program. For all the calling program I've had, 99% are in support of ASUU. And you can, this association can organize a program. Let's organize a program between we and the government, and let's have the Nigerian people call in and listen to them. So it's not correct when we say Nigeria not believe, or you can take a poll. If not for we, there will not be universities. If not for ASUU, the children of the poor cannot go to university. How many people can even pay airfare from Nigeria to London? Like you say, so that is it. So we are not ashamed. We are so proud of our struggle. We are proud of our strike. But when you check, we want to have quality graduates. We want to have quality graduate with knowledge, with practicals, with everything, and not the Benin Republic type of graduate. Maybe that's what Nigerian want. Benin Republic, where you spend 6 months, you come back with a degree. Is that what we want? We want, if we want to spend 6 years instead of 4 years to get a quality degree, spend the 6 years. We believe in quality, not quantity. If Nigeria want quality, they should go to Benin Republic.
All right. That said, thank you so much, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, ASUU President, for joining us today on Jasiri and sharing your thoughts. And we'll definitely be following up on the negotiations between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government. And we're hoping that the outcomes are better this time. Absolutely. We hope to have you again back with positive news. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. All right.
Have a nice day, yes.
I think for Nigerians, the most disappointing part of everything is the outcomes of the meetings that they hear. So a lot of times when that last question about the trust that Nigerians have is not because they do not fully support ASUU, it's just because of the outcomes. Like, okay, yes, we support, go on strike, but what's the outcome? You know, I keep saying, we hear they have closed door meetings, and like, this closed door again. Can you just open the door? Let's see what they're saying.
Even the ASUU president, Professor, he's already embittered. You can't blame him. It's not in a negative way, but he's saying that if you're committed to doing something, you can. If you have the willpower to do something, you can. In those days, and he was right, it brought back nostalgia. Bursary. You would look forward to getting bursary.
I got bursary only once,
but you would get bursary. Then in Cross River State, you get bursary. And it was just... And we took it for granted. We didn't know bursary would just be a thing of the past now that people are going to be yearning for, looking for. Now we don't even have that soft landing for students. And whether we like it or not, ASUU or federal government universities are what the lower class, that is the respite that they have, at least the children can go. It shouldn't just even be the lower class.
That's what I'm saying. Public universities now should be for everyone because of the quality.
Now, because of how things are, these public universities are supposed to be open for everybody. It shouldn't be something of, oh, you don't have enough money to go to private university. That's why you're opting for public
but it shows the priority of the country. It shows the priority of our leadership. They do not want to invest in the lives of these young ones. And everybody keeps saying that, oh, the youths are lazy, the this or that. But when they cannot have access to quality education, what kind of youths are we churning out?
They are looking at what is being done in front of them. And we had him speak about the senator who came out and said 14 million was not even enough for him. Even me, I sat, and we keep talking about the fact that our politicians and leaders refuse to read the room and don't understand the weight of the words. How can you sit and stand on a podium and say 14 million naira a month is not even enough for you when many states that you people represent and constituencies are still fighting to get the 70,000 naira minimum wage?
I don't know what that
is. Is it a curse?
I don't know it's a truth serum that they take.
It's just painful that they do not even feel the poor. That's why I keep saying that. I don't think any Nigerian leader should go and give a statement on his own. They should read what was written.
But sometimes they read what is written, Lolo.
But if they read what is written,
what is that your friend that used to say? Add some more.
The people who work half of this time, the people that they surround themselves with, they do not even leverage on their expertise. What is the essence of having a cabinet that supports a minister when you can still come out and just over the top of your head
so the truth is another thing is their realities differ, right? You cannot, a royal person would always speak like a royal person. So if there's no how, it will sleep, right? The person will just come and say, oh, you know, I just spent like 14 billion and it's not even enough for me. To them it's a normal thing because to them we don't exist. But their realities differ.
When the polity is impoverished, people are suffering. Do you know what it means? Now they are telling us that because we have more light. Have you noticed that people are spending more? For them to, even that light issue, even if they want to sell it, Do you know
There's a
Nigerians
way
will
to
be
package
so
it.
happy to say that, okay, we're paying more for these things, but we are
have to go.
getting it.
Lola,
we're seeing it.
We have to go.
Yes, we have to go, really.
ASUU is not without its own issues, and there are a lot of criticisms of ASUU. But today's conversation was a focus on the negotiations and the agreement between the federal government and ASUU. We'll continue the conversations, and of course, we will take up Professor Osodeke on his, I guess, his gauntlet throne, and we'll hear from Nigerians on what they think of ASUU and the situations with government. But we're heading out now. Don't forget that there's much more coming your way right here on News Central. Do have a good one. It's Monday. We're here with you for the rest of the week. 10 a.m. West African time. Insightful conversations, courageous conversations, and of course, some beautiful women to help you start your day. Put it like that. Bye-bye.